My fellow Americans, I'm here to announce that I am going to run for the presidency of these here United States. Of course, I went to college, unlike my opponent, Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, who may be making a run at the presidency in 2016 on the Republican ledger. Kelly Jackson, did you know he did not graduate from college?
Oh, my God.
Does this bother you?
Well, you know, I'm on the fence with that, to tell you the truth.
I don't want to take
Because-
too many. I don't want to take too many shots at Martin because he's kind enough to come in here at 9 o'clock and he does a brilliant job from 10 to noon. But this Scott Walker didn't exactly drop out of Harvard. He dropped out of Marquette, which is where Martin
that
went
where
to school.
Martin went?
Yeah, and I'm sure. I know it was rigorous. You know, it's one of the the great colleges and you know, in
Yeah,
the
you know you're going to
Jesuit
you're going to get an email
tradition
from someone from
yeah,
Marquette.
but it's Marquette. I mean, come on. It's not that difficult. But there's a history in the United States of presidents, and some of the best and most well-known presidents did not graduate from college. In fact, 12 of them, most of them in the 18th
Way back
and
in the
19th century.
Way back in the day.
Do you know, first of all, we'll do a little trivia. Who was the last president who did not graduate from college?
Well, I know that.
What
because
is that?
I read the story. It was Harry Truman.
That is correct. Harry Truman.
Thank you.
Is correct. And of course, the rigors of Spalding Community College or Commercial College probably got the best of Harry Truman until Ted Pendergrast, the boss, Pentecost.
No, because I'm
Tom-
thinking of Teddy Pendergrass, the singer.
No, Tom Pentecost, who was the boss of Kansas City, got his eye on Harry Truman and started his career. He also dropped out of UKC Law School, but Harry Truman went on to be a pretty good president. Other presidents, can you name some of the other presidents that did not graduate from college?
Well, again, by looking at the article,
Oh, you're cheating.
Abraham Lincoln.
That is correct.
Yeah.
He apprenticed as a lawyer, did not go to, but he got a profession out of it. George Washington did not graduate from college. Andrew Jackson, I believe they called him Old Hickory. He did not graduate from college.
And some of them went but just didn't finish. Some went to law school, didn't finish, like Harry S. Truman.
They quit.
I just don't know. I mean, the last Harry Truman was, back in 1945.
Yep.
And I guess the thing is, book smart, or do you have to have incredibly good instincts?
I don't think it should be a disqualifying thing. But in today's modern age, it's sort of almost a prerequisite to at least show that you've got something that you can finish. Now, there are exceptions to that. We're not going to compare Scott Walker or even Rand Paul, who didn't go to college but got into Duke Medical School because of his
Right.
high score. Now, I think for him, that doesn't matter. If you go to graduate school because you're too smart for college, that's fine. If you go Doogie Howser, that's cool with me. But, Martin Van Buren and Zachary Taylor and Millard Fillmore, it's not the same as sort of growing up in the 20th and 21st centuries. However, there are people that are so accomplished at such a young age that it doesn't really matter. How about Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Larry Ellison from Oracle? I mean, those are people that have done so much. The college degree really
And none
doesn't
of them finished.
mean
None of them
anything.
went to school,
But
yeah.
when you're the governor of Wisconsin, and that's a pretty big job, and you probably should at least have got some academic credentials to make the leap to president. Now, I don't know that that's an elitist thing. I don't think you should have to go to graduate school. I mean, after all, FDR and Teddy Roosevelt, I think, part of the same family, but both ends of the political spectrum, and I think both great presidents, you could say, both of them, they dropped out of law school. Something I probably should have done, Kelly.
Dropped out of law school?
That's right, and probably a lot of my clients feel the same way. But at least for Scott Walker, and I'll take Rand Paul out of it, Dr. Rand Paul, because I think that graduate school and medical school is pretty darn good. I just think it's kind of silly to be lecturing people when you didn't graduate from college.
And the thing is, because America, we so emphasize going to school and furthering your education. And if you have someone who is running for president who did not even finish college, I think that may be a hard sell for some people, and for other people, it may be a plus to have a president.
President Mark Zuckerberg.
Many of them who didn't finish college, and
yes,
and they may think of it as a plus. But
it might be.
Our past presidents, most went to Ivy League schools. President Obama, he went to Harvard.
They all seem to be doing that kind of thing.
And President Bush went to Yale. I just don't know. I don't know if President Obama would have been elected had he not graduated from college.
I think that college is the new high school. But I'd like to hear what people think. 84126.
It's not for everyone.
What do you think about
But it should be for a president.
It should be. And I do think that these smarty pants guys that drop out when you drop out of Harvard like Bill Gates to become the world's second richest man, change the world, or you're Mark Zuckerberg and you steal the world's greatest idea, allegedly, according to that Facebook movie.
Right.
And then you drop out of Harvard. At least you show that you've run a business. Clint Eastwood did not graduate from college. Certainly.
But these are actors.
Yes, exactly.
They're not running. They're not the president.
And even Ronald Reagan, who was an actor, he graduated from college too. So at least in your early 20s, it shows without some overwhelming hardship where you have to quit school to raise your brothers and sisters because your parents were killed because somebody was taking selfies in a plane or something. At least it shows at the basic level in the modern era that you did something and you followed through.
And that you were focused and you knew this was your destiny.
Yeah, and book smarts is kind of a big, important thing. When you don't have to be book smart to run most businesses. I don't think you have to be particularly book smart to be a lawyer. I really don't. I think the Lincoln model of being an apprentice, I think that would be something that I wouldn't mind if somebody became an apprentice, because if you can read, you can learn. But if you're going to want to become the president of the United States and you couldn't handle the rigors of Marquette, I think you're out. Sorry,
and was
Scott
there a
Walker.
reason why he dropped out?
No.
He
attended there and he dropped out to take a job. Now, you can have a job while you're in college, unless you're a sort of a student athlete, and you should get paid if you are. You can have a job while you're in college. It's called bartending. That's what it's called.
And that is our cue.
Tim Weiland. St. Louis Closet Company Traffic Center. Help us.
All right, I'll give you some good news. They've cleared that accident on eastbound 70 at the Blanchette Bridge. Traffic is still jammed up from Cave Springs up to the Blanchette, and then things start moving pretty well after that. You do have an incident on the ramp from southbound 270 onto westbound 70. The left lane of that ramp is blocked. And you have eastbound 364. It's running stop and go from Highway 94 down through the Maryland Heights Expressway and then from Bennington Place through Chutes. This traffic report brought to you by Accountemps. Accounting and finance salaries are on the rise, up 3.5% since last year. Get an in-depth salary forecast by visiting accountemps.com/salary center. Accountemps, a Robert Half company.
From ABC News, I'm Doug Limerick. A disease which was believed to be a thing of the past in this country making a major comeback. ABC News Chief Medical Editor Dr. Richard Besser says measles continues to spread.
This outbreak is showing no signs of letting up. There are already more cases this year than there were in the entire year of 2012. This has a lot of doctors and parents very concerned.
And Dr. Besser says doctors are shocked to learn some parents choosing not to have their kids vaccinated against measles. S&P, Standard & Poor's, paying big bucks to settle up with the government in connection with a financial meltdown nearly a decade ago. Here's
in the
ABC's
years before the housing market collapsed and the country suffered a financial crisis, Standard & Poor's was helping set the table for disaster. Federal prosecutors said S&P gave strong ratings to shaky investment products that contained risky mortgages. Prosecutors also said S&P failed to sound alarms about subprime mortgages because doing so would have hurt the company's bottom line. S&P has now agreed to a settlement and will pay nearly $1.4 billion.
That's ABC's Aaron Katersky. Before Best Buy and H.H. Gregg and now defunct Circuit City, Radio Shack was the original electronics chain. Well, now It's on the ropes. The company based in North Texas. ABC's Jim Ryan's there.
As uncertain as the future of Radio Shack is the employment picture for the 27,000 people who work there. About half of its 4,300 stores are expected to be shut down, the other half taken over by Sprint. And a few may in fact remain as Radio Shack brick-and-mortar locations, selling only electronics.
Also reports there may soon be a merger between Staples and Office Depot. Home prices up a bit in December, up 5% compared to a year ago. Off Indonesia, divers have recovered 6 more bodies. That Air Asia jet went down in late December. The upper Midwest, Northeast look and feel like the North Pole this morning. Deep snow turning to ice. You're listening to ABC News.
You're running your business, and we at Wix.com know things can get stressful. But creating your website doesn't have to be. With Wix, you can create a professional website all by yourself. It's easy and free. You don't have to be a programmer. Just drag and drop everything into place. It's your website, your style. Show the world what you can do. Go to Wix.com and create your own stunning website today. It's easy and free.
As an entrepreneur, you're always on the go. So turn your mobile phone into a business phone system with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. Get a new business number or keep your current one. Sound professional with a main greeting and multiple extensions that forward callers to your mobile phone. You can even get voicemails transcribed. Join over 150,000 small businesses who stay connected.
10 seconds.
Grasshopper. See how it works at grasshopper.com. The entrepreneur's phone system.
KTRS St. Louis. This is where St. Louis turns to first for live coverage of breaking news. The Big 550 KTRS, St. Louis's news, weather, and traffic station. Depend on it.
Good morning. It's 26 degrees at 8:03. I'm Kelly Jackson, live from the Window World Studios. Here's what's happening. If you're headed from North County into Illinois later this morning, a reminder that crews will shut down I-270 between Riverview Boulevard and North City and Route 3 in Granite City starting at 10 a.m. as the westbound side of the old Chain and Routes Canal Bridge is scheduled for demolition. The eastbound lanes were imploded in January. I-270 should reopen within 2 hours. The commitment to hotspot policing continues in St. Louis City as the number of officers in 3 Northwest St. Louis neighborhoods has been boosted this week. KTRS's Jill Enders has the story.
The initiative is called Hotspot Policing. This week's effort will focus on Wills Goodfellow, West End, and parts of the Hamilton Heights neighborhoods. St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay says his office is also doing their part to make sure violent criminals are kept off of the streets.
We're continuing our efforts to work with the prosecutors, city prosecutor, as well as the judges in the district in the city of St. Louis, talking to them about how they address bonds and how they address sentencings and those kinds of things. I met with them last week, so we're going to continue our efforts from that end to make sure that when you catch violent criminals in our streets, there's going to be more accountability.
St. Louis Police Chief Sam Dotson says the plan is to conduct the hotspot policing a couple of times a month throughout the city of St. Louis. Jill Enders, KTRS News.
Assistant House Minority Leader Gail McCann-Beatty has filed legislation that would automatically require the appointment of a special prosecutor to handle cases in which a police officer kills someone or is involved in a non-fatal shooting. Beatty says there is often a public perception that local prosecutors are reluctant to pursue criminal charges against police officers, and automatically assigning a special prosecutor with no ties to local law enforcement to handle such cases would alleviate those concerns. It's a first, but that's not a good thing. The Princeton Review has stripped the business school at the University of Missouri, Kansas City of its top 25 ranking. KTRS's Vicki Pimentel has details.
The unprecedented move comes after university officials admitted false data was submitted on its applications for the past 4 years. On Sunday, the ratings organization removed the Henry Block School of Management from its 2014 list as one of the best entrepreneurship education programs in the country. The Kansas City Star reports it was the first time a school was removed from the Princeton Review list. The school submitted incorrect data on some enrollment figures as well as on the number of student clubs and mentoring programs. On Monday, Chancellor Leo Morton acknowledged the school had submitted false data and asked that the school also be removed from the Princeton Review lists for 2011, 2012, and 2013. Vicki Pimentel, KTRS News.
26 degrees, 8:06. That's KTRS News right up to the minute. Sign up to receive breaking news.